What's going on, everybody? RJ here, coming at you with another episode of Football Talk. It's been a long time since my last video, so I figured why not start off with some college football talk this season, since that's going to be coming up pretty soon, starting up at the end of the month. And what I'm going to be doing over the next couple days, I'm going to be putting out some videos, going over how I think the records will turn out for some of the conferences, starting off with the SEC, my favorite conference. I love the SEC. No matter what game you watch, it's always a hard-fought game. It's a good football game, and it truly defines the definition of what is, in this case, any given Saturday. So I'm going to work my way up from the worst team up to the best. I'm going to break it down by divisions in the SEC, starting off with the SEC East. Working my way up. My last team, it's a tie between Kentucky and Vanderbilt. But I'm going to give Vanderbilt the lower spot because I have Kentucky winning the game between those two. And I have Vandy at a record of 4-8. So Kentucky also at a record of 4-8, but Kentucky gets a notch ahead because I think they win the head-to-head battle. Next up, Missouri. I have them at 7-5. Their schedule actually wasn't too bad in my opinion. Or it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. They do lose to, I think they lose to some pretty big dogs, mainly Georgia, South Carolina, and Alabama. I also think they're going to lose to some of the mid-ranked teams in SEC, which would be Florida now and Tennessee. Surprisingly, I do have high hopes for Tennessee this season. Alright, next up, I also have another tie in the division, a tie at 8-4 between Tennessee and Florida. Both at 8-4. I have Tennessee with losses to Georgia, Mississippi State, Bama, and South Carolina. I have Florida with losses to Tennessee. I do think Tennessee finally gets on top of Florida. I'm excited to see how Marlon Lane does at running back. Tennessee usually has that one running back that does pretty well, helps carry the team. Also Tyler Bray to Derek Rogers. I love that combination. I actually have high hopes for Tennessee this season. If Derek Dooley doesn't get anything done, he's done. He's fired. He's on the hot seat. Alright, so Tennessee losses at Georgia, Mississippi State, Bama, South Carolina, Florida, losses at Tennessee, LSU, South Carolina, and Georgia. Next up, moving to my top two teams. I have South Carolina coming in at a close second, 10-2, losses at LSU and Arkansas, and I have Georgia winning the SEC East at 11-1 with the only loss to South Carolina, but due to better overall record, they take the East. Alright, moving on to the SEC West now. Same thing, going to work my way from the bottom to the top. Coming in last place, I have Ole Miss with a 3-9 record. And then with a decline from last year, I have Auburn 4-7, no Michael Dwyer, who's not even at Arkansas State anymore. Huge issue. So I don't see a lot of weapons for Auburn. Defense, they'll keep them in games, but I just don't see anything happening with Auburn this year, especially with such a tough SEC. Move on to the next one, Texas A&M, which actually surprised me of how high I ranked them. I have them at 6-6, and I know you're going to say, wow, that's not really high at all, but it's higher than I expected, because for me, it's really tough to see how somebody who was mid-ranked in the Big 12, who underachieved in the Big 12, to move on to the SEC, the toughest conference in football, and the toughest division, the SEC West, which is even better than some conferences. So it's really hard for me to see them succeeding, but I do have them at 500, 6-6. We'll see if they get into a bowl game. I'd be surprised. Alright, next up, Mississippi State improving. I have them at 9-3. Arkansas, I have them at 10-2 with losses to the two biggest dogs, Bama and LSU. This surprised me at first. These next two teams, obviously Bama and LSU. I really thought I was going to pick Bama to win the head-to-head battle. I mean, it's just tough for me. It's going to be in LSU. Alabama's losing a lot of defensive starters. even though with Nick Saban, I still expect whoever's replacing him to be at a top-notch level, which is why I still think they'll beat Michigan this year and Arkansas this year, which is their two other tough games. So it's going to come down to the head-to-head battle between LSU and Bama in LSU. I have LSU winning that, so I have Bama coming in second at 11-1. LSU coming in first place, representing the SEC West at 12-0. So that would bring it to the SEC title game, Georgia versus LSU. I'm going to take LSU, and LSU, we're probably going to see them in the national title. And once again, for what is this, the 7th year in a row, SEC will win the national title. LSU is my national champion this year. And let me know what you guys think about that. I'll be doing other conferences, mainly just the BCS qualifying conferences. I'm not really going to get into any of the lower rank unless you really want to see it. Let me know what you think. Thank you guys for watching. Keep on tuning in. And don't forget, follow me on Twitter at RJ Football Talk. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Keep on tuning in.